Morning, UBC family. It's a chilly morning here this Wednesday, May 20th, and we are looking at Psalm 64 today. Psalm 64 is another lament, and as I mentioned a few times, at least a third of the 150 Psalms are laments. And you can actually see where the term comes from here in this one, Psalm 64, verse 1, where he says, "Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint." And a lament is literally a complaint, but it's a complaint that's being taken to God, not merely vented or shouted out into the void or something. It's taking it to God, and like many of David's laments, they're laments about people that have turned against him, people that are attacking him. And when you read David's life story in 1st and 2nd Samuel, that kind of makes sense because he had many long periods in his life where Saul was pursuing him and going back and forth between being his apparent friend and then seeking to kill him, and then later his own son Absalom betraying him, and different hints of others along the way too. So we don't always know who this is referring to, but it makes sense with his life story. Well, you notice his requests are in the first two verses. He just simply says, "Hear, preserve my life, hide me." And then he describes in poetic terms the work of the wicked against him. He says they, verse 3, whet their tongues like swords, who aim bitter words like arrows. And so part of it, their wickedness is lying, perhaps slandering, attacking, and yet God brings justice. In verse 7 he says, "But God shoots his arrow at them. They are wounded suddenly. They are brought to ruin with their own tongues turned against them. All who see them will wag their heads." So God in some way, and he doesn't give us details here, but in some way brings their wickedness back upon them. And it's not karma. It's not like they just got what was coming to them from some mystical force in the universe, but God himself, the God of justice, allowed their plans to come to ruin. And it says their own tongues turned against them. So in some way their plans brought harm upon themselves. And the result is, when people saw that all mankind fears. They recognize God's justice in the world. In verse 10, "Let the righteous one rejoice in the Lord." And that should be our end, of just rejoicing in who God is, not rejoicing in the harm of others, but rejoicing in the Lord and that he is a God of justice. Thanks. Have a great day.